Nyeri County, the Honorable Jared Okello, member for Nyando.
Madam Speaker, from the outset, let me thank you, and on the same breath, thank my brother, Honorable Salasia, for coming up with this. Madam Speaker, in the recent days, we have been agonizing with lots of issues as pertains to sugar. There is an impending sugar bill in the Senate now, that we hope that the Senate will align itself to the recommendations of this House so that at least for once we can have a legal framework upon which sugar can be transacted. Madam Speaker, there is the issue of setting aside 117 billion shillings owed by sugar mills by the government of the day, and that is applaudable. And there is also the impending sugar regulations, Madam Speaker, that we have always pursued its gazettement for way too long. And we hope that as we put our arsenals together to address issues of sugarcane, that for once, sugarcane and sugar as a byproduct will have all the matters resolved in good time. Madam Speaker, it is also important to understand why the brouhaha around sugar. Madam Speaker, sugar is the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to mobilizing funds for campaigns. And each electioneering period, Madam Speaker.
1 minute, Honorable Jared Okello. The Honorable Samuel Atandi. What is out of order, Honorable Samuel Atandi?
Madam Speaker, I was just alerting you that I'm here so that I get the chance to. I get the immediate chance so that I can comment on this matter.
Well,
the matter on the floor.
You had put an intervention, but luckily you are not far.
Can I be allowed to continue now that I'm on the floor?
No, now you're out of order. Okay. The Honorable Jared will proceed and will come to you as soon as possible.
Well, he's perpetuating mischief. But Madam Speaker, as I said, sugar becomes the lowest hanging fruit when it comes to mopping up campaign funds. And you will realize that every electioneering period, the so-called unscrupulous business community will be trooping to government offices relevant to receipt of permits, importation permits of sugar, Madam Speaker. So, because this will continue for the longest, we also have to reorient our sugar business in a way that will also thwart the efforts of these sugar barons. Madam Speaker, ask yourself, Mumia's Sugar Company, which was the pride of Africa, not just producing sugar, but ethanol, spirits, and selling hydrogenerated electric power to the national grid, that company, just because of poor leadership, dissolved, and we have nothing to write home about it now. Mumia Sugar Company employed thousands and thousands of people directly, not considering the indirect beneficiaries of Mumia Sugar, which were also in hundreds of thousands, if not tens of millions. But because of mismanagement and lack of political goodwill, Mumias is reeling on its knees, Madam Speaker. What, therefore, can we do? We acknowledge that indeed there is the COMESA rebate when it comes to importation of sugar. But I think the main idea of coming up with COMESA was that when there is a shortage or we have exceeded our locally produced sugar, then there were parameters that could govern importation of sugar, Madam Speaker. Now we are crying foul to anybody who can come to our rescue at this point in time. Madam Speaker, I think Honorable Atandi took my time, and my very able clerks never took cognizance of that, but I want to remind them that I still have 3 more minutes to go. So, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Jared Okello, You have 10 seconds, but I'll give you 1 more minute.
Thank you.
The clerks took care of the 1 minute that you lost because of the intervention.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, even as we make efforts to revive these sugar companies, we also must step back and look at the issues that created the collapse of all these sugar companies, Madam Speaker. But again, it is important to ask ourselves that why is it only the government mills that are having a problem when private millers are thriving as going concerns, Madam Speaker? So what is it that the private millers are getting right that the government will never get right, Madam Speaker? Even as we put our foot forward for the privatization of sugar mills, we must recognize that farmers must play a critical role. The owners of those farms called nuclears, which are ancestry, so to speak, must also be recognized so that we don't shortchange them by government putting its head in these sugar matters, Madam Speaker. And I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, thank you, Honorable Jared. I will purposively, honorable members, go to the member for Westlands, the Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to support this motion. Madam Speaker, the issue of sugar in this country has driven many people to poverty, especially the farmers from this sugar growing region, Madam Speaker. The factories in this region, Madam Speaker, went into importing sugar, and this was facilitated by the defunct Kenya Sugar Board when they licensed factories to import sugar